Hey guys, it's Chloe and today I'm back with another Get Ready With Me, and this one's got a bit of a focus on how I cover my acne with Skin B5. So I'm just starting off with my Skin B5 Acne Control Moisturiser, and I'm just moisturising my face as I would do on any other day. And I'm just giving that time to sink into the skin before I put on any skin makeup. So you'll see I move on to my eye makeup next, and that's so that the moisturiser has time to work its magic before we get right into the nitty-gritty details of the skin. So once we're done with that and you can see our skin is nice and healthy and moisturized, going to move on to my eyes, and you can see my under eye bags were popping that day. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep, maybe I wasn't drinking enough water, but I'm just using a little bit of eye cream just underneath there to kind of hydrate the area before we start the eye makeup. Because this Get Ready With Me is more of an everyday Get Ready With Me, I've tried to cut as little footage as I can so you guys can kind of see how long this would take me on a normal day. So now I'm just concealing my eye area with my LA Girl Pro Conceal, and I'm going on top of my eyelids and underneath my eyes, but mainly focusing on the top of my lids because I'm using that as an eye primer. So instead of using a traditional eye primer, I just like to use concealer and set it with a bit of powder, and then that way the eyeshadows on top will last all day long. So today for my eyeshadow, I'm taking the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette, and I'm taking the Rust shade and putting that all over my lid and all into my crease as well. The reason I did this is because I wanted something that still looked really nice and blended, but something that was really quick and really easy. So when you take shades like this, you can put them all over the lid and in the crease, and sometimes if you add a bit of shimmer on top, or even if you just leave it like that, it looks a little bit more put together and a little bit more dimensional, and like you spent a little more time on it than what you actually did. So I did change my camera settings actually because I realized you couldn't really see too much of the actual color of the shadow. So I darkened it a little bit so you can see now how nice the shadow actually looks on its own. But then I'm taking the Shan XO palette from BH Cosmetics, and I'm taking that mustard shade and just putting that into the crease to help blend out the shadow that we just put down. I really love the Shan XO palette because it's really versatile and really easy to blend. So I used that mustard shade and then going back to the Kat Von D palette and using the lightest shade just to highlight my brow bone a little bit, nothing too fancy. And I'm being extra and using multiple palettes, but you can obviously do this look with just the Shan XO palette or just whatever palette you have that's got similar colors. And now I'm just taking that lightest shade from the Natasha Denona Holiday palette and just using that to pack on into my inner corner. I do love a shimmery inner corner. I feel like it just makes me look so much more awake, which I really needed on that day, clearly. And now I'm just taking that same shade and just putting the tiniest bit of that on my brow bone. I prefer to keep my brow bone a matte color, but I felt like switching it up a little bit today and adding a bit of shimmer on there. So just taking a really light hand for that though, because the Natasha Denona shades are quite pigmented. And then I just took a Q-tip with some micellar water just to clean up the edges of the eyeshadow, because you can go a bit overboard with blending, as I so often do. And then just curling my lashes and adding on some mascara. The mascara I used today was the Bad Gal Bang, and I'm obsessed with this mascara, you guys. Jesus, it's fantastic. Nothing has made my lashes look like this since the L'Oreal Telescopic, and I actually think that the Bad Gal Bang is better. I've already like nearly run out of my tube. You can see the difference from the left eye to the right eye, and that's only with one coat. I think if you put any more than one coat on, they get a bit clumpy, but one coat just makes them look so flooded and feathery and thick and black, and it's just amazing. I love, love, love this mascara. Moving on to my brows, I'm using this little brow tattoo thing lately, which doesn't really act as a tattoo, but it's more of a felt tip kind of pen. It's not even branded, to be honest. I didn't buy it. My auntie bought it and then I took it from her. She said she didn't like it, so I took it from her, and I've been really loving this to actually just fill in my brows every day. I think the felt tip makes everything look a lot more natural, and it's really easy to blend out if you've made a mistake or just wipe off as well. I just love the way it looks. I feel like it makes my brows look really natural but really full and like real hairs, and I've just been really obsessed with it. So that completes the eye look, and we're moving back onto the skin, and I'm using my Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. This is just a pore filling primer to help kind of smooth out the texture of my skin, and at the moment, just because of some health issues, I do have a lot of acne, and so I do have a lot of texture. This was probably one of the better days of my skin. My skin, you know, obviously has better and worse days, but just using that primer to smooth out the texture. Then, to help cover the acne and fight it at the same time, I'm actually mixing my Makeup Forever Face and Body Foundation, which is the old formula. The new one's water blend now. But I'm mixing that with my Skin B5 Skin Purifying Mask. And as you'll see in a minute, I just take the bit of the mask on a Q-tip and I put it on all of the places where I would really like to cover and treat at the same time. So I dot it on all of those areas and I spread the foundation all over my face, and then I kind of mix it together with my Q-tip before I blend it out, or I just mix it with my brush when I'm blending it out. I find this makes really good coverage, and the Skin B5 mask actually acts as a bit of a color corrector as well, because it's got a bit of green in it. Because it is made with French green clay, the clay in it does have a bit of a green tint, but it's nothing that's going to make you look like Shrek. So it's pretty perfect for every day. So you can see there on my temple how well that it actually blends together and helps to cover the redness and just the pimples that I do have overall. I'm just using a Zoeva face brush to blend this out, but you can use a beauty blender, you can use whatever kind of face brush or sponge you so desire. I would not, however, recommend blending this in with fingers, just because of the nature of the mask. I feel it blends a lot better if you actually use a brush or a sponge. So if you're a fingers person, which I feel like not a lot of people are, then probably try and use something or steer clear of this kind of technique. But I blend it over with a brush first, and then in areas where I feel like it can get sunken in a little bit more into my skin, I'll just take a wet beauty blender. This is actually a beauty sponge, not from the Beauty Blender brand. I'm not actually sure what brand it is, but just using that to blend through patches where my skin might be a little bit drier and it probably needs a bit of extra help to blend in. Then I'm just taking that same LA Girl Pro concealer that I took on my eyes earlier, and I'm just concealing everywhere I feel like needs to be concealed, which, side note, is everywhere apparently. So I'm just taking, again, that tiny little brush that I took to blend out the concealer before. This is just a nice little dense brush from Face It. I got this in Vietnam quite a few years ago now, so I'm not even sure if you can still get it anymore, but I love this brush for blending in concealers because I feel like it helps to keep all of the coverage on there because it is so dense. It also works as a nice little BB cream, like light foundation brush as well, if you're looking for something like that. And I'm just paying extra attention to pat into the areas where I do have breakouts as well. Like you can see, I focused a lot on a pimple that was on the side of my nose, just because packing it on I feel adds a lot more coverage. Speaking of coverage, we are now going to set, and I'm using this Bare Minerals Ready Foundation Powder. This is the most full coverage powder foundation I have used in my entire life, to the point where it's almost bad how full coverage it is, because you can get so carried away so quickly. So I do like to use a bigger, fluffier brush for this one and just tap it really lightly over all of the areas where I would like it to set and where I need that coverage. Additionally, if I find I need extra coverage, I'll take a small brush and I'll take the powder just on the tip of that small brush and really softly rub it over the area that I need the extra coverage. So if I've got it on a pimple, I'll just really slowly buff it over the top and kind of add that extra layer of coverage on there. So just putting on some lip balm now, just some classic Carmex lip balm. You can't go wrong with some Carmex. And I'm just prepping my lips for whatever lipstick I decide to put on later on in the video. So sticking with the Shade and Light theme, I'm taking the Shade and Light palette by Kat Von D, and I'm taking the lightest shade in the palette in the contour and bronzers section, and I'm using that to contour my face. So putting it underneath my cheekbones, my temples, my forehead, anywhere I want to contour and make it look a little bit slimmer. Then I'm taking the middle shade, so the shade underneath the banana shade, and I'm using that as a bronzer. So I either like to mix the lighter shade and the middle shade and make like a brontour, as I like to call it, where I'm too lazy to contour, but I do want to put on bronzer, but I want to contour a little bit and I just can't decide. So sometimes I mix them together and I put it kind of on that in-between place where it can act as a bronzer and a contour. But today I felt like doing each step separately, so I've used them separately. I'm also taking the Hourglass Limited Edition Christmas palette from last year, and I'm taking that middle shade and using that for my blush. I'm using an oval brush because I want to buff it into my skin, but I don't want to ruin the coverage that I've put there from all of the foundation work and concealing work that we just did. So I find using a brush like that helps to buff it in without buffing away all the product that's underneath. Doing the same thing with the highlighter from that palette as well, and just buffing it in with that same oval brush. Also popping some on my nose and Cupid's bow, because is it a look if you haven't highlighted your nose and your Cupid's bow? I don't think so. Then I'm just taking a little Smashbox Legendary lipstick, and this is in the shade Famous, and because of the lip balm we've got underneath, it'll just glide on really nicely and it'll make more of a stain and a My Lips But Better kind of shade, as opposed to being a proper matte lipstick, which is what I enjoy on most days because I'm just too lazy to top up my lipstick all the time. And that's the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed this really quick video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.